Hello everyone, I'm Gabriele, game director of Sheol. Finally, we are here with the gameplay video. Okay, two things before we start the gameplay. Okay, the first is, have you already checked the last video where I explained to you all the updated rules of Sheol? If you don't, check it out, okay? Second thing is this gameplay was recorded about 2 or 3 weeks ago. In the time we updated some components, so we updated in particular some icons of the game. For example, in this image you can see the old action icon that was like movement, it's too similar, and the new that is now a hand is more appropriate for the actions. Other components you haven't seen yet are the rule cards with the action overview, so with all the actions you can do in the scout phase with your scouts in Sheol, and the rule card with the phases, the shadow phase, that is the first phase of each turn in Sheol, and then the scout phase, with also some icons as a quick reference. This is mission 4 of the main campaign of Sheol. Before starting a mission, you have to read the mission manual, okay? So I have here for you the pages, the starting pages of the mission 4 from the mission manual. Because we haven't showed these pages yet before, I want to show them now, okay? So for each mission in Sheol, in the mission manual you find, okay, the number of the mission, the title, the text that is practically the story, okay, of Sheol that is going on from mission to mission. All missions are connected. A little recap of what you have to do in this mission. Then you have on the right the setup. Okay, this is the setup of the mission with the land codes you have to use during the mission, the land codes you can't use during the mission, the components that you have, it's the recipe, the components that you have to set up on the main board here, and the enemies that there are in this mission. Then there are some special rules notes. These are optional, so there are missions that don't have the special rules and notes, and others that, like this one, that has these special rules. And then there is an info box. These are optionals and are useful to deepen the lore and the story of Sheol. Okay, so after you have read this page, you have to come back to the gameplay, okay, and reveal the first mission card. Before showing you the mission card, just to let you know what happens actually in this mission, you have two main objectives. The first one is to explore some coordinates on the land of the night, because you heard of some coral bone control instruments that probably could control the shadows, okay? So you have to go and see if this is true. And the second thing is to protect the external settlements from the Summerfield troops. Summerfield is a revolutionary from the revolutionary army of the exiled. They live outside the citadel and they want to be admitted inside the citadel, so they make some terroristic actions against the settlements nearby, the Twilight areas. Okay, so in the card you find a flavor text. The exiled settlements are asking for your help. They don't want to be occupied by Summerfield troops. And then the effect that you have to apply immediately. In this case, you have to place, using the star tokens, some tokens, okay, that represent the Summerfield troops, and these tokens are applied outside some lands, and they will advance at the end of each scout phase toward lands. If they enter a land that is unrevealed, that is undiscovered, they will destroy the land. If one land is destroyed, another card is triggered, another mission card. If 3 or more lands are destroyed, the mission is lost. Okay? Then, after you have placed all the tokens, each scout gains 2 Umbra, that is the currency, okay, of the game. Umbra crystals are some remains of the shadows, are used in Sheol as a trade currency. Is another currency other than the deluxe, okay, that is the main currency, because people in the Citadel, they use deluxe drops as money, okay. And then you have to reveal B, okay, mission 4, card B, immediately. Okay, this says that Strom, that is an NPC of the Citadel, sent you some coordinates, very imprecise, and you can start your investigation from there. So the objective, and is also the goal, is to reach coordinate M5. When you have reached the coordinate M5, you will reveal the card D and discard this mission card B. Okay? So the players decided to put an X token in M5, and then, okay, the mission can start. The first phase is the shadow phase. So we have a counter on the shadow board. The shadow board, the one on the right. The first thing is menace increase. So the black marker, that is also the turn counter, goes to the first space. That is 1. Okay, the second thing that happens during shadow phase is the threats reveal. The threats are some cards that influence the global gameplay, but since it's the first turn, this phase is skipped. Okay, then the Outer Lord acts, but there are no Outer Lords. The Herald act, there are no Heralds. Base Shadow act, there are no base shadows, because in this setup there are no shadows, base shadows, or simply shadows in play from the beginning. So there is the generation, so we skip to phase 6. Generation happens throwing the alert die or the danger die. It depends of the phase of the singularities, because shadows generate from singularities. The two phases of singularities represent the grade of danger, the level of danger of the singularities. The red is the danger, okay, level. So more shadows will spawn, and the white side is the alert level, so less shadows will spawn. Practically, you have to throw the die for each singularity symbol. In our case, they first throw for the triangles, and then place the resulting number of shadows around the singularity, starting from the space that is pointed by the singularity arrow. Now they throw a 2 for the circle singularity, and if you obtain the flip symbol on the die, you have to flip the singularity to the other side. As you can see, there were no shadows at the beginning of the gameplay by setup, but there were singularities. So since the game always starts with a shadow phase, shadows comes in play, and we have already about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shadows, about 8 shadows in play, and it's the first turn. As you remember, in the last video I said that the goal of Sheol is not to kill the shadows, but is to complete the objectives, the game goals. Okay, because shadows, they continue to generate and generate. Okay, now the players are coloring the miniatures to better recognize them during gameplay. In Sheol, you have some colored discs you can apply below your miniatures or below the servo droids if you play in solo mode, or with less than 4 scouts, because if you remember, if you play with 3 scouts, you have to use 1 servo droid. If you play with 2, you have to use 2 servo droids, and if you play solo, you have to use 3 servo droids. So the shadow phase is finished, and now it's time to the scout phase. The first thing is facility production, but there are no facilities in play. Facilities for charge, there are no facilities. So there is the light shield refill phase. So everyone has to draw light shield cards, that are cards with the shield on the back. They are drawing them right now, and that are cards used to modify or to do special actions. Okay, and are also used to parry damage. You can discard a light shield card to parry 1 damage. Okay, our characters in play, we have the Cyclops, we have the Breathless, that is the blue, then we have the Pioneer, that is the gray, and last we have the Minad, that is the red, okay, character. So this is the basic quartet. These are some of the light shield cards they revealed. Okay, these are from the Breathless. As you can see, in each card there is the discount or the alternative effect on the top left, and the top right you have this little clock that represent when you can use this card, only in the scout phase or both in the shadow phase or in the scout phase. The gold card is the special card. It's a special action. These are the cards in the hand of the Minad. Each character, each scout, has 13 light shield cards, and the light string cards are unique for each scout. Okay, now in play you can see there are also some obstacles. For example, this obstacle is a Lux Trench. Lux Trench, the scouts can go over the Lux Trench, but shadows can't. So the shadows will go around the Lux Trench. Also, there are the opposite. It is the Dark Conglomerate, that shadows goes over this obstacle normally, but the scouts can't go over it. Then there are some points of interest, that is, they are marked with an eye. This corresponds to little events. Okay, little events. Each time you go over 1 point of interest, you have to draw from the events deck. The events deck is made of 12 cards, that 8 are positive cards and 4 are bad or negative cards. So it's always a good idea to explore point of interest, because you can earn some faction tokens that are useful for the development phase, that is the phase between missions. Okay, so now our players, remember that this gameplay was done in Italian, so they are talking and I'm doing the commentary in English for you. They are evaluating to coordinate themselves, and they are deciding what to do. So they are saying, what can we do? We have to go to the coordinate M5 because this is the main quest, but at the same time we have to discover some lands, because if the Somerville troops, that are the star tokens move at the end of a scout phase and goes over the lands, they will destroy them if they are not revealed. Instead, if the land is discovered, the Summerfield troops, when it goes over, is destroyed, so there is no harm anymore. Okay, so they are designing for the first that have to act, because the shadow phase is free. Each scout has 3 action points, or 3 actions in general, and a scout can do an action, then another scout can do his action, and then can pass, okay, or a scout can do all the 3 action and then pass, okay. So it's free. You have to coordinate because Sheol is also a game of position, so you have to position your scout in the right spaces to have, for example, enemies in your pattern, or to have, for example, a good reveal pattern to destroy the obstacles. There are 8 coral bone tokens. You see in the 4 parts exits of the citadel gates, okay, and scouts can destroy these coral bone obstacles using reveal actions. Also, they have some districts already built in the citadel board, and they can use these districts because they have a passive district that makes the pool, the normal pool of Lystrin tiles, the one on the left. Normally the pool is made by 5 Lystrin tiles that can be used to build the Lystrin path, okay, to make the scouts move. Is made of 5, but since they built in a previous mission a district with a passive effect to have 1 more light shield tile in a pool, and then they have 2 other districts with some active effects. They can spend charges, as it happens with the accessory cards they have. You can spend a charge to do an action. Okay, okay, so first the Cyclops decides to move outside the citadel. Remember that when the scouts are on your board, they are in the citadel, okay? Moves 1 cell by paying 1 movement point, and then he does a reveal action using its lantern and discarding a light shield card to avoid pain, because he has a light shield card that can discount the reveal actions, and destroys the coral bone obstacles because they are in its pattern. In fact, if we see its light barrier, its lantern, it has a very straight horizontal pattern. As a second action, he decides to pay 2 lux and do a plan action. So he takes 2 Lystrin tiles from the common pool. He takes a cross Lystrin tile and a T-shaped Lystrin tile that has also has a shield on it. The shield is when you are in a Lystrin tile with a shield, if a shadow attacks you, you gain 1 less damage, okay? Then he places the Lystrin tiles on the main board, and this can be done in 2 ways. Doing a reveal action, this is the first way, you can put the Lystrin tiles in play in the pattern of the lantern, or simply moving on them. Each time you move in a dark cell, if you have already acquired a Lystrin tile, you can place one of them. So the Cyclops decide to use the another reveal action to place the Lystrin tile. he don't want to move because one of his allies probably will use its live stream tiles to go to the coordinate M5. Okay, that is the goal. So now the pioneer decide to do plan action as well. Plan action is a fundamental action in the first stages of the game. The pioneer has the night digger that is has a different pattern, and he has to pay 2 lux for gain 2 live stream tiles. The gates of the citadel are placed in the where there are small arrows. Here in Tabletop Simulator the colors are not very good, so it's a little difficult to see, but they are corresponding to the red corridors. Okay, so the pioneer use a plan action, then now place a live stream tile moving on it practically during movement. Okay, as a second action, the pioneer decides to destroy the coral bone obstacles. So he discards a card to gain the discount. Okay, he does a reveal action, and in its pattern with the night digger he only has one of the 2 coral bone obstacles, so he destroys it. But also he used the pattern to place some live stream tiles, 1 live stream tiles in particular he already acquired. He decided now to invert the action, so first takes the live stream tiles, and then he does with a plan action, then he does with his third action reveal. So now he destroys the coral bone and place the live stream tiles. When the live stream tiles common pool is depleted, a new one is created. This time there is also an arrow. Arrows are very useful because if you go in a live stream tile without with an arrow, you don't have to pay the movement points. So now the pioneer does not move, only use the pattern, okay, to create the live stream path. Why he decided to go to this land? Because the land in M17 is the one with in M19 there is a star token, a Summerfield Chance troop that is going towards the land, so they want to discover the land as fast as possible to make it safe. Okay, but the pioneer hasn't enough movement points to reach the land. He could pay, for example, additional lux to unlock additional movement points, but remember that the lux is also the life of the Sheol characters. So he leaves to the Minad that has a high movement points the duty to go from the citadel to the land. Also notice that in the citadel there are 3 districts built, and earlier we saw the districts, okay, cards, but there are also the districts miniatures on the central miniature of the citadel, because when you each time you build a district you have to add a new miniature. So now they are counting the movement points needed to go to the land. They are evaluating to go which land go, and then the Minad decided finally to move. And remember that the movement is not an action. Movement is movement. Okay, you have just to pay movement points. So the Minad move, paying its all movement points she has, but then she used Fearless Leap, move to space without spending movement points. One should be a dark cell, so she moves in the dark cell on the top of the land, and then she goes on the land. So she leaped and go on the land. When a scout goes over a land that has no enemies on it, the land is discovered. This is robotic factory remains. The code is TE. So when you discover land, you have to go to the land deck and take the land with the correct name and code. In our case, TE. Also, when you discover a land, you should, if you want, read the flavor text in the land. That, in our case, is robotic factory remains. There is a text that is explaining what happens, okay, on this land. Okay, then the car is flipped and the front of the land is revealed. There you find the space for 3 action. On the top left top right to build facilities, at the bottom to deploy the printer, and in the top left to do some explorations on the land. Okay, so the Minad decides to kill the shadows because they are near the land. So she uses another movement point, and then she decides to using the shoulder, the hand torch to reveal the shadow. The shadow is in the pattern, the shadow in front of the Minad. She pays the lux for the revelation, for the reveal, and she revealed a Swarmer. A Swarmer is a shadow from the expansion. It's not in the core set, but if you bought the all-in, it's inside. A Swarm is a peculiar shadow because its life, its damage rises if the Swarmer has other shadows revealed or not revealed that are surrounding it. So more the shadows as close to it, the more it's stronger. So the Minad decides to attack using the Coral Javelin, and she does 3 of damage in the pattern in front of the Minad, and so she decides to pay for the attack, paying 1 action and 1 lux because she has not, or she don't want to discard some light shield cards to attack, and then she have to throw the scout die to attack. Unrevealed shadows, you have to hit unrevealed shadows. You have 2 possibilities out of 6, but revealed shadows you have 6 possibilities out of 6. So you always hit a revealed shadow. Base shadows has an illumination level of 0 when they are not revealed, and an illumination level of 4. When you throw the scout die, you have to obtain a number that is below or equal the illumination level of the shadows. So the Minad obtained a 1 and the shadows is hit. When the shadows, if a revealed shadows is destroyed, you get 1 Umbra as the reward. Okay. Now the Minad has still 1 action. So she decides to use one of the 2 character tokens and the last action to deploy the printer on the land. So the first thing to deploy a printer is to take the scout token and place it on the deploy printer area of the land card. Then she have to reveal 2 cards, but if she pays 2 additional Umbra, 2 Umbra, not additional, she can reveal 1 more card from the shop deck of that level of the land. This is a Twilight land, so she draws 2 cards from the Twilight lands printer deck. I said shop because shop was the name on a past version of Sheol, but so she revealed she draws 2 cards. The cards are now could be printed. These are like blueprints, can be printed paying the Umbra by every scout that is connected to that land, okay, by the live stream. So basically also the Pioneer, for example, could print an item. We have the Pocket Lux Vial and the Lux Bang. Lux Bang is a grenade that can reveal shadows in a 2x2 space. She is evaluating to buy something because she has the Cherubs, that is an accessory that could send items to other players. And this accessory has 2 charges, so she can use this effect anytime. Also they have at the Slums Market that paying 1 charge they can have a discount buying printing, in our case, the items, okay? But she decides to pass. Now is the Breathless turn. The Breathless decides to use a plan action, but with Overload, because with normal plan she would only draw 1 live stream tile, but with Overload she will draw 2 live stream tiles that are useful to complete the path and reach the coordinate M5. So she decided to use the Overload over the lantern, and she has to roll the challenge Overload die. And the result of this die is 2 breaks, but the lantern is supports 2, has a durability of 2. So she just put 2 break marks on it, and it's okay, it's not broken yet. So the action is complete. She takes the live stream tiles and then places them to reach the coordinate. But it's not enough, because she needs 1 additional movement point to reach M5. So she decides to pay 1 Lux and use the incremental movement that you find at the bottom of the scout card. So paying 1 Lux, she can add 1 movement point. This is not an action, this is an incremental, and can be used anytime you want. You have just to pay the Lux. By the way, the Cyclops is here to help. The Cyclops decides to use a card, a light shield card, that is Safeguard. With paying 1 Lux, an ally collecting to you by the live stream gains 1 movement point, 1 Lux, 1 Umbra and 1 action. But then they shuffle 1 Disturb in their deck. So the Cyclops uses this card, and the Breathless gains all these things, the Umbra, the movement point and 1 additional action, but she has to shuffle in the deck a status card. As you remember, status cards are permanent cards that you have to remove if you want during the development phase, that is the phase in between missions. And the Disturbed is the effect is when you draw this card, you have to discard the top card of your light shield deck. So with this additional action, Lux, etc., the Breathless can reach finally the coordinate M5. When this happens, the goal is reached, and at completion the card D is revealed. So the card, the mission card is now discarded, and another one is drawn, in particular D. The effect is instant, and the effect is there is always a flavor text. Strangely enough, these coordinates you find a small camp that must show on your maps, and here there is an effect that is to place an exiled settlement land in that place, and you can do a challenge. So when you are on the land, by spending one action and one umbra, you can ask a question to the exiled. Each time you do, you have to perform the challenge, that is, you have to get a result of a minimum of 3 on 2 archetypes. If you have that archetypes, you get 1 bonus. Throwing 2 challenge overload dice. And then if each time you succeed, you have to draw an additional mission card. So because you are investigating about those choral born musical instruments for that control apparently the shadows. But if you fail, you lose 1 lux. So now you have to decide if to risk or not. A new land as well is discovered, so you also have to reveal the respective land card, that is the exiled settlement. You can read the flavor text if you want. Then the land card is flipped. Okay, so the Breathless decides to pay 1 umbra and roll the challenge overload. She obtained 3 successes, 3 stars. That is sufficient to draw the mission card. Okay, she passed the challenge and drew the mission card. The mission card drawn is E, and the effect is applied immediately. The effect is: you must earn the trust of exiled before asking about the tier shaped sign. You start by asking how they survive in such a small camp, etc. And they point to a Lux synthesizer. It's a machine tuned with the Del of Depths that can synthesize Lux from Umbra. The exile grants you access to it if you destroy the lurkers that threaten the area. So the immediately effect is place 3 lurkers in M3, N3 and N7, and the goal is destroy the 2 lurkers. At the completion, reveal I. Discard, then discard. The Breathless still has 1 action thanks to the Cyclops, and she decides to attack using the Streaming Rifle. The Streaming Rifle has a big pattern, okay, at distance 2, as you can see, and does 2 damage. The lurker only have 1 life point, so the Breathless can destroy it. So she is evaluating to if you use some cards like shield cards, but then she decides to just discard a card, okay, to avoid paying 1 lux to attack. She rolled the scout die to attack, and she obtained 4. That is a hit with a critic. And the critic for the Breathless is deal +2 damage, because the critic changes for each scout. The Breathless has pure damage. So the Rooker is completely destroyed because it has life 1 and the damage was a total of 4. So it's destroyed, and the Breathless gains 1 Umbra as a reward. Also, one of the Lurker, that is a goal of the mission card, is destroyed, and she has no action left. So now she passed to the Pioneer. The Pioneer still has some actions left, because he only built some live stream tiles at the beginning and destroyed 1 coral bone obstacle. The Pioneer first decides to use his accessory, because he has an accessory card that is called Scavenger Aid Set. By discarding 2 cards, he can gain to 1 Umbra. Surely he has to discard as well one of the charges of the accessory. Then the Pioneer does a planned action and moves at the south of the citadel, because he's heading toward the land at the south of the citadel. There is also a little event, you see the eye in front of him, so he decides to move there. Scouts have no more actions. It's the end of the scout phase, and as you remember, all the Summerfield troops move 1 position towards the nearest land. So this is the timing of the mission, basically, because if a troop reach an undiscovered land, the land is destroyed. So they have to be very careful and reveal as much as possible the lands. Okay, so the scout phase is finished, and it's a new turn.